Welcome to K. Keith Photographer's Digital Images Techniques and Tips for the Novice Photographer. And now, coming at you almost live from Kansas City, USA, here's your host, Ken Keith.
Hi everyone, and welcome back. As always, a big shout out to those of you in the local digital imaging group and those of you who are joining us today on YouTube, Vimeo, and the photo blog in the US and around the world. We appreciate you dropping by. So if you've been following me over the past 3 years, then you know that many of my software tips have been for Photoshop Elements users, and this will continue. But now a number of you out there have graduated to the full version of Photoshop and or have added Lightroom to your imaging workflow. And as a matter of fact, I strongly recommend Lightroom 4 or the current version as the next logical step in your professional training. You know, it's a really powerful software and extremely reasonably priced. And then you can save your pennies for the big Photoshop CS version that's current and take advantage of those sales which Adobe often has just for Elements users prior to the release of a new CS version. So now for those of you using Lightroom or Photoshop, I'll be posting tips and techniques specifically for you. And so let's get started. Alright, well, let's get started here in this is CS5 Extended, the software being used at the moment, but this will work in any version. And this is another one of my tips for retouching, especially in glamour, beauty, fantasy. But you know, you definitely will have an application anytime that you want to do some enhancements. And what I like about this technique, it is just super simple. You have almost infinite control and precision in using the technique shown here. It is so simple. I'm not going to actually even do a lot of this stuff as far as the minutia of it. I personally, watching other photographers work on tutorials, I just kind of get put out with having to watch them say do the clone stamp or the spot healing brush 20 times as they go through and do the same thing over and over again just to get to a certain point. I just want to make this as brief as possible. Alright, what I've done here, this you see here that we're starting out with this image. It's not complete as far as what I want to do as far as a final result, but I've just done a little bit of cleanup here and there, mostly with the spot healing brush tool, occasionally using a little bit on clone stamp. And now as you see, the lighting is super soft. We're in the shade using a one light source in a shoot-through umbrella and a lower reflector. It's very soft, but what I wanted to do is start to build up a little more interest and contrast, and especially concentrate on the eye area. And I've done some of these tutorials in the past that I've posted in various places that talk specifically about eye retouching. But this that I'm going to demonstrate now is a really good place to start. And this is the before, and I hope you can see this. Practice and do this on your own images, and you'll see the difference. Sometimes a lot of this more subtle retouching is lost due to the compression of the video. Anyway, this is the before, and this is the after. Like I say, I'm not finished here, but this is where I wanted to. Part one was just to clean up some minor blemishes. Obviously I have a very beautiful model here, very beautiful eyes, and I wanted to enhance those some more. So what I simply did was start with the background layer, add a blank layer, and that layer is going to be in the overlay blend mode. Set your foreground, background colors back to their default positions. If they're not already, just press the D key. You can switch between foreground and background by just pressing your X key. And then I've got a brush, and depending on the area that you want to brush will dictate the hardness or the softness of the brush. I did the eyebrows and most of the lips with about a 50-50 soft brush, a little bit of harder brush for some of the detail around the eyes. Let me zoom in here just a little bit. Once again, I'm going to toggle this off. This is where we started from, and this is the end result. So once you have created your blank layer, change the blend mode to overlay. Just get a brush tool, and those areas that you want to be darker, we're going to paint in black, and those areas that you want to be lighter, we're going to paint in white. But here is the next part of the trick, if you will. Up here in your options bar, you can leave your mode to normal, your opacity to 1%, but change your flow to only 1%. And this will allow you to build up gradually. Like I said earlier, it's like infinite control of this. Plus, of course, you always have the flexibility of changing this layer, the opacity of it, if you feel like you've gone a little bit too far. And if I took my black brush, normal mode, 100% opacity, 1% flow, paint just on this blank layer, black, I'm going to do here, eyebrows, the area of where the eyeshadow and mascara were applied, and then with and the lip area, fairly soft brush there. And then I'm going to change my brush hardness to a harder brush, and the dark ring around the iris of the eyes will become darkened. I'm also going to go in here to the pupil. If you turn this layer off again, the pupil really doesn't look dark at all. We've got, like I say, the soft light, the reflector down here. We have some ambient daylight, and to me it just really washed out the eyes. The pupil is not black like we would normally think of seeing it, so I'm just going to, with my brush, I'm going to scale it down. I'm going to click in here into the pupil area till it gets nice and dark. And also then now any areas that I want to lighten, I'm going to switch my foreground color to white and lighten it up. I've gone in here to this part of the iris and lightened it just a bit. Once again, darkening with black with the pupil and the outer ring. I'm going to toggle that off and back on. And let me point out one other area just for demonstration purposes. Look at this area right here, just below the nose. You can tell from the direction of the light by the catch light, and when I toggle this layer off, it added a little shadow right here. I used white, once again 100% opacity, 1% flow, and I lightened that area up. And boys and girls, that is really all there is to it. You could add some adjustment layers and curve layers. Once again, you could mess with the opacity, but with the brush setting to 100% and flow at 1%, you can really finesse an image, make it look natural, and that is it. Just have fun with it. Experiment around. If you can't see very well what I've done here, just open up in any image and just start working with it. You'll be amazed. Your subjects will like you for it, that's for sure. Today is the 4th of July, 2012. Have a happy 4th. Remember the meaning of this day, and we'll talk again. Have a great one. Bye-bye.